By late August, every public well in Red Hollow had reached dry stone. Cattle collapsed beside empty troughs while families guarded their final water barrels. Yet clear water still flowed from 40 acres everyone had called worthless. The land belonged to Owen Mercer, who had paid only $12 for it. Men had laughed when he purchased rocks, thorn bushes, and a sunburned ridge. Now those same men waited beside his gate with buckets and frightened children. Behind Owen, a stone-lined reservoir held the valley's last dependable water. Before him, the richest rancher in the county demanded the first share. Owen rested one hand on the gate and remembered the auction room's laughter. Nobody had wanted the land until the land held what everyone needed. The auction happened 10 months earlier, during November of 1882. Red Hollow occupied a dry corner of New Mexico territory beneath black volcanic hills. Most useful land followed Cottonwood Creek, where grass remained green through summer. Virgil Shaw owned nearly every meadow touching that narrow ribbon of water. Owen worked for Virgil repairing fences, clearing wells, and moving stubborn cattle. His wages supported Anna, their 8-year-old daughter Lily, and a rented cabin. Owen wanted land of his own, but creek parcels cost more than years of wages. The county auction offered abandoned claims, unpaid taxes, and other people's failures. Buyers crowded the courthouse whenever pasture, timber, or a proven well appeared. That morning, every useful parcel sold before Owen could raise his hand. The final deed covered 40 acres on a basalt shelf north of town. Tax maps described the property with 2 words that emptied the bidding room. "Rock and scrub," Clerk Mason announced while flattening the faded paper. Someone near the stove added, "Mostly rock," and laughter moved across the benches. The previous owner had abandoned one shallow well after striking solid black stone. No creek crossed the claim, and no spring appeared on any survey map. Mason opened bidding at $12, the amount owed in taxes and fees. Nobody moved because $12 still seemed expensive for 40 acres of punishment. Owen remembered something he had noticed while repairing Virgil's northern boundary fence. A line of willows grew from one crack halfway across the barren shelf. Their roots stayed green after surrounding grass had burned yellow in July. Quail tracks also crossed the rocks there every morning before turning uphill. Birds rarely climbed toward dry ground when easier water waited below. Owen raised his hand before caution could explain every reason to remain seated. Mason struck the table once and sold him 40 acres for $12. The room fell silent for one surprised breath, then laughter returned twice as loudly. Virgil leaned against the doorway with amusement hidden poorly beneath his mustache. "You could have bought a sound horse blanket," he told Owen afterward. Owen folded the deed carefully and placed it inside his work coat. "A blanket never becomes land," he answered before walking into the cold sunlight. Anna studied the deed that evening while supper cooled between them. $12 represented flour, lamp oil, and nearly 3 weeks of rent. She asked whether Owen had seen water or merely plants that wanted some. "I saw signs," he said, knowing signs could not fill Lily's cup. Anna remained quiet because anger would not return the money or change the deed. The following morning, she packed bread and followed him toward their expensive rocks. The claim looked worse up close than it had from Virgil's fence line. Broken basalt covered the shelf in dark plates sharp enough to cut leather. Thorny mesquite clung between stones while the wind carried dust toward town. The abandoned well was barely 6 feet deep and filled with loose rubble. Lily dropped a pebble inside and heard it strike stone almost immediately. "That is a very small well," she observed, without understanding her father's worry. Owen led them toward the willows growing from the narrow fracture. Their bark appeared healthy, and damp moss darkened one shaded rock beneath them. Anna touched the moss, then rubbed dry fingers together without speaking. Moisture existed somewhere nearby, but somewhere could still mean 20 unreachable feet below. Owen spent the afternoon studying slopes, cracks, animal trails, and mineral stains. He had learned that habit while helping railroad crews cut through western hills. Engineers read stone before blasting because rock revealed pressure, weakness, and hidden drainage. Owen was no engineer, but years carrying their tools had taught him attention. A pale mineral line crossed the basalt several yards above the willows. It suggested water had once traveled through fractures before evaporating under open air. Owen marked that line with stacked stones and returned before sunrise the next day. Quail landed near the willows, scratched beneath one boulder, and drank from nothing visible. When the birds left, Owen found dark soil hidden under the boulder's edge. He pressed a cloth against it and watched a faint wet mark spread. The discovery proved moisture, but it did not prove enough water for a family. Owen borrowed a pick, shovel, iron bar, and hand drill from Virgil's workshop. Virgil allowed the loan because failure promised better entertainment than refusal. "Bring my tools back before those rocks swallow them," he said. Owen began where the former owner had dug, believing depth might finish neglected work. He removed rubble, widened the shaft, and struck solid basalt before noon. The hand drill barely marked the stone after hundreds of hammer blows. Sparks jumped beneath each strike, while the hole remained stubbornly dry. Owen worked for 6 days and gained less than 2 feet of depth. Anna hauled broken stone, while Lily carried smaller pieces beyond the shaft. Their rented cabin emptied slowly as tools, blankets, and cookware moved onto the claim. Owen built a rough shelter against the ridge using poles and salvaged boards. Every evening, he lowered a lantern into the shaft and watched dust settle. No dampness appeared, and the stone gave back only cold silence. December brought freezing nights, making each useless foot harder to defend. Anna opened their flour sack and measured how little remained above the bottom seam. Owen returned Virgil's tools and asked for additional work through winter. Virgil offered steady wages if Owen surrendered the rocky deed as payment. "I will clear your mistake," he said. "You can stop feeding it." Owen almost accepted because pride tasted poor beside an empty flour sack. Then Virgil asked whether Anna had finally admitted her husband was foolish. Owen folded the offered paper and returned it without signing his name. He took 3 days of fence work instead and kept the land. During those days, an older well digger named Eli Harper visited the abandoned shaft. Eli had opened wells across the territory before a damaged shoulder ended heavy work. He studied Owen's drill marks, the slope, and the willow fracture above them. "You are digging where a man wanted water," Eli said. "Not where water travels." Owen asked why the lower shaft remained dry despite lying beneath the damp soil. Eli struck the basalt and listened to the sharp sound returning from below. The hard layer carried water sideways instead of allowing it to sink deeper. "Stop chasing it down," Eli advised. "Meet it where stone forces it across." The answer sounded simple until Owen faced the hillside, hiding that sideways path. Eli showed him how mineral stains curved toward one narrow seam, uphill. Cool air slipped from that seam whenever afternoon sunlight warmed the surrounding rock. Owen had noticed the air before, but dismissed it as ordinary shade. Attention had brought him close, while assumption had sent him downward. He abandoned the vertical shaft and began a shallow, horizontal cut beneath the seam. The new opening followed softer material trapped between 2 bands of basalt. Progress remained slow, but each bucket carried damp clay instead of dry dust. Anna touched the clay and allowed herself the first hopeful smile in weeks. Owen supported the narrow cut with cedar posts before advancing another foot. Eli inspected every brace because wet ground could collapse without warning. The 7th foot revealed roots entering sideways through a hairline fracture. Those roots belonged to the willows 10 yards above the opening. Owen followed them carefully, widening only enough space for his shoulders. On the 9th morning, his pick broke through a pocket of loose gravel. Cold mud slid over his boots and filled the bottom of the cut. Owen crawled backward while Anna pulled the safety rope tied around his waist. They expected a rush, but only a thin brown trickle followed the mud. Lily placed a tin cup beneath it and waded through the entire afternoon. By sunset, the cup had filled halfway with cloudy, mineral-tasting water. Virgil's riders laughed when they saw 3 people celebrating half a cup. Owen did not answer because the trickle had already answered one important question. Water existed beneath the rocks, but reaching enough would demand far more work. Eli tasted the settled water and found no salt or bitter mineral trace. He warned that opening the fracture carelessly could bury its flow forever. Loose gravel carried water, but it also carried the hillside's shifting weight. Owen widened the chamber slowly while Anna removed each bucket by rope. They lined the floor with flat stones and left gravel exposed along the rear. Water seeped through that gravel, collected below, and moved toward the entrance. Owen carved a shallow channel that guided every drop into a covered barrel. The first night produced 6 gallons, enough for drinking but little else. Anna recorded the amount because hope needed measurements before becoming a plan. Cold nights produced more water, while warm afternoons slowed the hidden seep. The pattern suggested a larger supply stored deeper inside the fractured ridge. Owen extended the channel toward a second mineral line several feet east. His pick opened another wet seam, doubling the barrel's nightly collection. Lily began calling the narrow chamber their hidden underground creek. The name sounded generous for water still arriving one patient drop at a time. Owen built a covered stone cistern below the entrance to store unused flow. He sealed its joints with clay and protected the opening from animals and dust. Anna planted onions beside the overflow channel to test the soil's response. Green shoots appeared while frost still whitened the shaded rocks each morning. The tiny garden became visible from Virgil's northern fence line. Riders stopped laughing long enough to ask where Owen hauled his water. "I do not haul it," he answered. "The ridge brings it to me." Disbelief returned because the truth sounded more foolish than a wagon journey. Spring warmth melted snow high in the distant mountains beyond Red Hollow. The underground flow strengthened 2 days before Cottonwood Creek began rising. Owen understood the ridge was receiving distant water through connected rock fractures. He could not see the path, but timing revealed where it began. The cistern soon filled faster than 3 people and 2 horses could empty it. Owen added a lower reservoir lined with stone and shaded by a roof. Overflow traveled through narrow ditches toward beans, corn, squash, and young fruit trees. 40 rocky acres slowly gained green lines where careful water crossed them. Anna sold the first onions in town before neighboring gardens left winter dormancy. Clerk Mason recognized her and asked whether Rocks had finally learned farming. She placed 2 onions on his counter and charged him the ordinary price. "The Rocks learned nothing," she said. "My husband finally learned to listen." Success lasted until 3 days of hard rain reached the volcanic hills. Water entered the fractured ridge faster than Owen's narrow channel could carry it. Pressure pushed gravel into the chamber and shifted 1 cedar support sideways. Owen heard the timber crack while clearing mud beneath the second seam. He turned toward the entrance just as the chamber roof dropped behind him. Anna pulled the safety rope while Lily screamed from beside the reservoir. Owen escaped with a cut shoulder seconds before gravel buried the eastern channel. By morning, the underground creek had slowed to a muddy thread. Weeks of work disappeared behind a collapse caused by one impatient extension. Eli examined the broken support and found Owen had spaced the braces too widely. "Water found the weakness before weight finished it," he explained. Owen wanted to dig immediately, but Eli stopped him beside the unstable opening. A buried man could not repair a spring or support his family. They opened a second entrance from the side and approached the collapse safely. New cedar frames stood half the previous distance apart beneath the fractured ceiling. Owen added a gravel settling chamber before water reached the main channel. Heavy sediment now stopped there instead of burying the narrow collection path. The repair required 12 days, every spare board, and most remaining flour. When water returned, it flowed clearer and steadier than before the collapse. Failure had not disproved the spring, but it had exposed Owen's dangerous shortcut. He marked each new support date inside Anna's careful record book. Virgil visited shortly after the repaired reservoir reached its highest line. His eyes moved from the clear water toward the green ditches crossing Owen's claim. He offered $100 without mentioning the courthouse laughter. Owen refused, and Virgil increased the offer to $300 before sunset. "You paid $12, Virgil reminded him. "No sensible man refuses that profit." Owen pointed toward Lily carrying water between the young fruit trees. "I bought land," he said. "The water made it our home." Virgil left without anger, but he studied every ditch before mounting his horse. Would you have sold 40 rocky acres after turning $12 into a spring? Share your choice below, and subscribe before Red Hollow learns what that water means. Summer arrived beneath a sky that produced clouds but almost no rain. Cottonwood Creek fell earlier than any rancher remembered from the previous decade. Grass faded along Virgil's meadows while dust gathered inside hoof prints near the banks. Red Hollow's public wells dropped several inches during the first week of June. Owen checked his spring ledger and found the flow had also weakened slightly. The difference was small, but dependable water required respect before scarcity arrived. He stopped watering corn and directed every drop toward vegetables, trees, and storage. Anna covered the ditches with flat stones to reduce loss beneath the sun. Lily checked the reservoir marks each morning before feeding their 2 horses. The stored level held steady while neighboring barrels emptied faster every week. Owen warned the town council that deeper wells might not solve the drought. Public wells reached loose sand above basalt, the same hard layer he had encountered. Digging downward could miss water traveling sideways through distant fractures. Mayor Caleb Frost asked whether Owen expected every family to buy a volcano. Laughter followed, though fewer voices joined than during the courthouse auction. Owen proposed clearing old hillside springs and building covered public storage. The council postponed action because Cottonwood Creek still crossed town each morning. Virgil opposed restrictions because his cattle needed nearly every remaining pool. He believed summer storms would arrive before water became a public emergency. July passed without one storm reaching the ground around Red Hollow. Lightning flashed above distant mesas, while rain vanished into hot air. The creek became disconnected pools crowded with cattle, insects, and thickening mud. Virgil moved his weakest animals north and sold others at ruinous prices. Families lined up before dawn whenever the public well recovered overnight. Arguments began over spilled buckets, repeated turns, and animals drinking near the pump. Owen allowed nearby families to fill one vessel daily from his lower reservoir. He recorded each amount because generosity without measurement could empty everyone's future. Anna issued wooden tokens marked with household names and collection days. The system angered impatient neighbors, but kept the line orderly and predictable. Virgil arrived with a wagon carrying 6 empty cattle barrels. He offered $20 for enough water to protect his breeding herd. Owen refused the money and offered drinking water for Virgil's household instead. "Children before cattle," Owen said. "That rule applies to every name here." Virgil's jaw tightened because wealth had never placed his name behind hired hands. He left with 2 household barrels and no water for his herd. That night, hooves thundered across Owen's northern boundary beneath a moonless sky. Thirsty cattle had broken Virgil's failing fence and followed water's smell uphill. Owen reached the reservoir as the first animals crashed through his garden. Anna opened the outer spill channel while Lily rang their iron warning bell. Water flowed into a lower stone trough, drawing cattle away from the covered reservoir. The herd crowded the trough and trampled beans, onions, and young squash vines. Owen protected the spring entrance while Anna kept terrified animals moving downhill. Virgil's riders arrived before sunrise and turned the herd toward open range. The garden was destroyed, and the lower reservoir stood nearly half empty. Virgil offered payment for every plant, board, and gallon his cattle had taken. Owen accepted money for the fence, but refused payment for the water. "Your cattle were thirsty because all of us waited too long," he said. Virgil looked toward the ruined garden and heard accusation without being directly accused. Together, they rebuilt the northern fence, stronger than either man had built alone. Owen added a separate livestock trough beyond the protected household collection point. Virgil supplied timber while insisting the work remained repayment rather than cooperation. Anna let him keep that explanation because labels mattered less than finished troughs. August arrived, and the courthouse well failed before the morning line had formed. Red Hollow finally faced the emergency Owen had warned them about months earlier. By noon, every public well produced only hot air and scraping sand. Families gathered containers while Mayor Frost searched records for any overlooked public spring. The maps showed Cottonwood Creek, 3 failed wells, and Owen's officially waterless claim. Before sunset, the first wagon climbed toward the 40 acres nobody had wanted. More followed until the rocky track became a line of wheels, feet, and buckets. Owen closed the gate after counting nearly every household in Red Hollow. Desperate voices rose when people saw clear water shining beyond the fence. Virgil pushed forward and demanded enough barrels to keep his remaining cattle alive. Owen remembered $12, courthouse laughter, and the blanket Virgil had mentioned. He could have charged any price and recovered every insult before nightfall. Anna placed Lily's cup beside the ledger and waited for his decision. Owen opened the gate and announced one rule for every person waiting. People drink first, working animals second, and cattle receive only what remains. Virgil objected until several mothers raised empty cups where everyone could see them. Mayor Frost demanded control of distribution under the town's emergency authority. Owen asked how the mayor planned to replace water after emptying the reservoir. Frost had orders, but he had no measurements, channels, or knowledge of the spring. Eli Harper stepped beside Owen and opened Anna's record book before the crowd. Daily flow, household use, storage loss, and livestock demand filled its worn pages. Uncontrolled collection would drain the reservoir within 2 days and help nobody afterward. The mayor lowered his voice and asked what system could last longer. Anna brought out the wooden household tokens she had prepared weeks earlier. Each family received a measured daily share based on people, illness, and essential animals. Virgil's household token carried the same mark as his poorest ranch worker's token. He noticed the equality, then stepped aside without challenging it again. Through the night, buckets moved beneath lanterns while Owen watched the reservoir line. The level fell faster than Anna's figures predicted, despite strict measuring at the gate. Owen stopped distribution briefly and inspected every channel for an unrecorded loss. Water still entered from the spring, but damp earth spread below the reservoir wall. The cattle stampede had cracked clay ceiling beneath 2 foundation stones. Their emergency supply was leaking into ground too deep to recover. Repair required emptying part of the reservoir while hundreds waited above it. Owen announced a 6-hour closure, and anger moved through the exhausted line. A ranch hand accused him of hiding water until desperate people paid more. Virgil surprised everyone by grabbing the man's bucket and pointing toward the wet ground. "That leak steals more than Owen could," he said. "Let him stop it." Words became unnecessary because every available shovel entered the reservoir together. Owen removed the loose stones while Anna packed fresh clay behind them. Virgil cut timber braces, and Frost carried buckets like every other thirsty man. Lily crawled along the dry wall and found a second crack beneath the spill gate. They sealed both failures before sunlight reached the western rim. Water rose against the repaired stones, paused, and finally held its line. Distribution resumed beneath quieter voices and far more careful hands. The repaired reservoir stopped losing water, but the spring itself continued weakening. Anna's ledger showed 1 gallon less each morning than the day before. At that rate, strict rationing only delayed the same empty ending. Eli studied the mineral lines while Owen checked their original underground chamber. The western seam remained open, but dry gravel appeared behind its weakening trickle. Water traveling from the mountains had dropped below the channel's collection height. Owen needed to meet it lower without repeating his first useless vertical shaft. He followed the sloping basalt layer toward the ravine below the claim. Willow roots vanished there, but white mineral crust marked another narrow fracture. Eli pressed his ear against the shaded rock and heard a faint internal tapping. The sound might be water, loose stone, or hope, inventing what fear wanted. Owen marked a horizontal entry below the original chamber and gathered cedar supports. Frost offered every able worker, but Eli limited the cut to experienced hands. Too many picks could fracture the seam and release pressure in the wrong direction. Owen, Virgil, and Eli worked by lantern while the town guarded every remaining gallon. The first 6 feet produced dry clay, black stone, and no useful sound. Virgil questioned the mark, but Owen pointed toward the mineral crust above them. "The stone records water after the water moves," Owen said. "We follow the record." At the 8th foot, cool air moved across their candles and bent each flame. Eli ordered another brace before anyone touched the damp gravel ahead. Owen secured the ceiling, then loosened one small stone using the iron bar. A clear thread appeared beneath it and disappeared immediately into the floor. Virgil reached forward, but Eli stopped his hand before gravel shifted unexpectedly. They opened the fracture from the side and built a stone collection shelf below. The thread became several threads, each joining inside the new lower channel. Cold water reached Owen's boots before the men could finish the final wall. He backed out while Virgil pulled tools clear of the rising channel. The flow entered the lower reservoir at nearly twice the weakened upper rate. Red Hollow had not received a miracle, because every clue had waited there openly. Owen had simply followed the water downward, as drought changed its hidden path. The new supply secured household rations, but it could not support Virgil's entire herd. Virgil sold more cattle and moved his breeding stock toward mountain pasture. The decision cost him money, pride, and animals his family had raised for years. He made it anyway, because people could not drink promises made to cattle. For 3 more weeks, Owen's spring supplied every household under Anna's token system. No family received everything wanted, but every family received enough to continue. Covered reservoirs kept dust out, while shaded channels reduced loss beneath brutal sunlight. Workers also cleared 2 forgotten hillside seeps using Owen's measurements and Eli's guidance. Neither produced much alone, but together they reduced pressure on the main spring. September finally brought steady rain instead of lightning fading above distant mesas. People stood outside and let cold water soak clothing. Nobody hurried to protect. Cottonwood Creek returned slowly, carrying branches, mud, and relief through Red Hollow. The public wells recovered, though nobody trusted their depth quite as blindly afterward. Frost formed a water committee before the streets had fully dried. Owen accepted a place only after Anna received control of the measurement records. New reservoirs appeared above town, covered against heat, dust, and wandering livestock. Wells were placed after studying rock layers instead of choosing convenient, empty ground. Virgil moved cattle fences away from public collection points and protected hillside seeps. He never apologized for the courthouse laughter with a long or polished speech. Instead, he returned Owen's borrowed hand drill fitted with a new steel tip. "Rocks swallow tools," Virgil said. "Sometimes they return something better." Owen accepted the drill because the old joke finally carried respect inside it. Clerk Mason visited the claim after hearing vegetables had returned beside the repaired channels. He brought the original tax map showing the parcel marked without water. Owen drew both spring chambers, reservoirs, and mineral lines across the empty space. Mason asked what the land might sell for after saving Red Hollow. Owen looked toward Anna, Lily, and young trees recovering beside the stone ditch. "It sold once," he answered. "That was enough." Years passed, and the 40 acres never became easy country. Basalt still broke plow blades, while mesquite still claimed every neglected corner. The spring required inspection, repairs, clearing, and careful records through every season. That constant work protected it better than secrecy or ownership papers ever could. Lily eventually learned to read mineral lines before she could calculate land prices. She showed visitors the abandoned shaft where her father's first idea had failed. Then she led them toward the sideways channels that turned failure into understanding. Red Hollow remembered the drought whenever public reservoirs dropped below their painted marks. Families reduced use before empty wells forced fear to make decisions again. Virgil's ranch survived smaller, wiser, and less dependent on one vulnerable creek. Eli spent his final working years teaching younger diggers how water moved through stone. Owen never claimed he had created the water beneath his rocks. He had noticed signs, made mistakes, accepted help, and protected what he uncovered. $12 purchased the deed, but attention revealed the claim's real value. The rocks everyone rejected had never been empty. They had been guarding water. Red Hollow survived because one man questioned what every other buyer believed. He did not defeat the desert. He learned where the desert kept its strength. Would you have risked $12 on Owen's rocky claim? Rate his choice below. Share where you are watching from and subscribe to Wild West Lifestyle for more frontier stories.